Welcome back to Eccleston Piano Teacher. This short video is considering one topic to do with instrumental teachers. Why do they often prefer to work with pieces that they, the teacher, know? I once overheard a guitarist chatting to a fellow musician, and he said, "Why is it that music teachers are so reluctant to teach songs or pieces that they don't know themselves?" And my response, which I kept to myself, was, "It's easy to see that you've never taught piano." Well, to unpack that, I'm speaking from experience. I've been teaching piano since 1988, sometimes full-time, sometimes part-time. And in all that time, I'd say that my pupils get the best out of me when I'm teaching pieces which I at least know. For example, I've heard them in a concert or watched on YouTube. But ideally, they get the best from me with pieces I've studied, played, or done some preparation work on beforehand. However, have pity on the piano teacher. Consider this extract from Debussy. It's page 1 of 5. This grade 8 piece is actually from his Preludes Book 1, a grade 8 associated board. It's complicated. You don't need to be a genius to come to that conclusion, and it will take time to absorb and digest what the composer, Debussy, is actually asking of you. So let's consider some pros and cons. Firstly, problems with teaching only pieces that I, the teacher, know. So a teacher may choose to work with books and pieces that they know well, and an extreme of this might be, for example, working only with the piano music of Mozart or Schubert or Debussy. Now, actually, I've never heard of that. It is an extreme, but there may be some teacher out there who follows this rule. Perhaps more likely, slightly more likely, would be someone who, a teacher prefers the Baroque period or the 19th century, and they will only work with pieces in that period of 100 or 150 years. Perhaps even more likely than that might be a teacher who works with a 20th century genre such as jazz, pop, or perhaps rock of the 1970s up to the current day. Now, in a big city that might work, but where I am in South Lancashire in England, you're going to struggle to fill your diary if you are as fussy as that as a teacher. Also, if you are so narrow, your pupils will struggle with this. They'll get bored with it. It's probably different for a guitar teacher, but teenage guys who are pupils, whether piano or keyboard, in particular, they will not thrive with this. They'll get bored, they'll complain to their parents, if not directly to the teacher, and they'll say that they just do not like the set work. And this counts actually for non-classical as well as classical. Musical tastes vary massively. One pupil may like ABBA or Queen, and yet another doesn't like that. 30 or 40 years ago, teachers had more clout, more, dare I say it, more respect, and the pupils would persevere with the work set, even if they didn't like the music. Classical music requires a lot of respect for the original intentions of the composer, for example, chords and rhythms. So we need to work out what the composer, he or she, intended. With classical music, we can't take the same liberties as with jazz or pop when we may be producing, for example, a cover version of, say, a Beatles song, our own slant on that original. So with classical music, aspects affected here would be fingering, pedalling, and ideas regarding the dynamics, getting loud and getting soft. So specifically, advantages of teaching pieces you may know as a teacher. Well, the advantages of letting the pupil take the lead are that they will frequently be much more responsive, especially if their personal tastes are narrower than you might like. Their preferences may be scattered, some pop, some rock, some film music, and some classical. But there may be no easily definable logic to what they like, for example, only jazz or only classical. If you, the teacher, put in the work to meet them halfway and let them take the lead, you may be surprised at the progress that they make. It will take you out of your comfort zone in that you don't know the pieces, or if you do, it may be that the piece is in a different arrangement or a different key to what you've previously known. In short, You will engage them more and possibly keep them playing for the rest of their lives instead of dropping off as so many have done for decades. Exam boards are recognising this with lists of choices getting longer, as with the new Associated Board lists which have just come out for 2021-2022. So there are some modern challenges for piano teachers in this day and age. To work with pieces that the pupil chooses, the teacher is going to need good personal sight reading. You will need the ability to speed read a piece, taking into account the key signature, accidentals and so on. Listening to a version on YouTube, of course, will help, or Spotify, but if your sight reading is not good, you're going to struggle. That's a challenge. You will end up having to spend more money as well on sheet music, even if you go for downloads as opposed to actual books. I'm constantly having to buy new books and obviously consider what ones that I've previously used and discarding them and not using them anymore. Well, I hope you found this video helpful as a teacher, or perhaps as a parent. It's been insightful for you as to why a piano teacher you know is choosing to work in the way that they do. Bye for now.